As you may know, Global City Mission primarily does three ministry activities. First, we do evangelism and church planting, especially in globally diverse metropolitan areas. Second, we equip and coach individuals to become disciple makers in their own communities. And third, we provide equipping and training for local churches to impact their communities by reaching out evangelistically and mobilizing their members to engage in spiritual conversations. And when we're teaching on conversational evangelism, one of the primary metaphors we like to use is that of the mosaic. Now, if you remember your European medieval art history, a mosaic was a type of portrait or picture that was put together by laying down a series of glass or tile that began creating a portrait through the different colors. When you look at the mosaic, the artist would have had to put down a few tiles at a time, continue to build in each one until the picture became clearer and clearer for the audience or the observer to see and appreciate the beauty that was displayed by this work of art. Well, when we begin talking about evangelistic relationships, and we want to assume that we're entering into a series of conversations of making disciples, because let's be real, most of the time, most often, people aren't going to come to faith in Jesus through a single conversation. And when it seems like that happened, the reality is there was 5 or 10 people that came before us. I love meeting that seeker. It makes me feel like I've really made an impact where we're meeting them and they come to faith very quickly, and that's exciting. But in reality, I am reaping where others have sown. And sometimes people reap where I have sown. When we enter into spiritual conversations with people, seeking to move them closer and closer to Jesus and allegiance and faith in Him, it's a series of discipling conversations. And so what we're doing is with each engagement, we're laying down a few more tiles. We're helping the picture become clearer and clearer. Now, one of the questions that often comes up is, where do we start? Well, you start wherever they are. Which tiles do we lay down first? Over here in the edge, closest to the center, as we're trying to create this portrait? Doesn't matter. The principle is, start where they are, not where you want them to be. How often do we force evangelistic conversations because we're starting where we want someone to be, maybe where we hope them to be? But in reality, those first conversations, laying down those first few tiles to create this picture, we start wherever they are. And what we found doing this with people, training believers to reach out, thinking about starting where other people are and just entering into a series of conversations, creating that mosaic of the gospel for people. So with each conversation, the picture of the gospel can become clearer and clearer. What we found is it frees people up to be more evangelistic rather than less. Because oftentimes in evangelism, what we think we have to do is we feel like we have to have that one conversation that closes the deal in a single conversation, and that creates a little bit of pressure. And because of that pressure, we found that a lot of people simply don't engage because they don't feel like they can get that job done. But instead, what we're suggesting is picture the mosaic, and each conversation is laying down a series of tiles, maybe 1, maybe 5, maybe 20, so that the picture becomes clearer and clearer as you create the mosaic of the gospel for the person that you're in dialogue with. Because what we're really about is making disciples. That's what we're focused on. And that's usually, with exception, usually not going to happen in a single conversation. So as you engage with people, and as you're freed up just to start with wherever they are, not where we want them to be, but where they are, and begin just laying down a few tiles at a time, entering in those conversations, painting a bigger picture. And eventually, when they really see the central message of the gospel, when they begin to understand the hope of salvation, when they begin to embrace Jesus, it'll be when they're ready, so they can fully appreciate the beauty of the picture of the mosaic of the gospel of Christ.